Inkat makam. So today I'm going to be talking about Rumsien phonology, specifically for nouns in Rumsien. This is not exhaustive of the entire language. This is just a very basic overview. And I'm going to talk about specifically a branch of linguistics called phonology. I'm not an expert on phonology. I'm not a phonologist per se. I love phonology, but it is not something that I have done a whole lot of studying. I've read a couple of things. I've taken a class on it. So I know very, very basic knowledge of phonology, just as a disclaimer. So phonology, just to give a very, very basic overview of what it is, it's kind of defined as how sounds within a language work together and how sounds become a system within a language. So that's not to be confused with phonetics. Phonetics is talking more about the sound itself, individually. Is what kind of sound is that? It's a fricative. It's alveolar. But with phonology, phonetics is still important, but phonology takes how an S kind of changes or how it interacts with sounds around it or with parts of a different word around it within a specific language. So just to give a very basic definition of a morphological rule, so morphology is more about constructing words, things like morphemes, slurs, suffixes, prefixes, infixes, all those kinds of things. So this is just an example of what a morphological rule here is going to look like. The word is always described as X. So here, if you look at this, X, arrow, XO, if noun plus plural. So this just basically means that at the end of X, aka a word, you add O if you want it to be plural. So I think this language is, I don't even know, Somali? So in Somali, if you want to make a plural noun, you add O at the end. So that's a morphological rule. A phonological rule looks a little bit different. So here, this looks really all over the place, but M, arrow, N. So that just basically means that M becomes an N if it is before a T or if it is at the end of a word. So that little right bracket, then subscript word, that means word final or at the end of a word. So basically a phonological rule looks like the very first symbol you see is the target symbol. In this case, it's M. Now, after the arrow indicates change. So the thing that comes after the arrow is what the sound now turns into. So here, an M turns into an N. Now, the slash just indicates environment, specifically when you will see this change happen. So the underscore basically means that is where the position of the targeted sound is going to be. And in this case, you can see there's brackets and it's before T and before, it's at the end of a word, before T or at the end of a word. So you might need more getting used to looking at phonological rules to understand specifically, but they might get a little bit more complicated, but I'll explain through it. So this is just the phoneme inventory of Rumsien. So in Rumsien, you have lots and lots of sounds, as you know. So I put in yellow what the orthography looks like. So the things that are in black, that is the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet symbol. So this is what linguists use to describe any sound in any language. Every sound in a language has a specific symbol. But in this case, just writing and reading in Rumsien, at least in a common orthography that a lot of people use. I did not make this orthography up. I did not make these symbols up. This was already used before, but it is not official. Just want to put that out there. Rumsien does not have an official alphabet, but you can see here basically what these look like. So if we look at the consonants, that's to the left. I'll just sound it out from left to right, top row down. There's P, t, tr, k, and So tr, that's the retroflex T. You curl your tongue back. I highly suggest to watch my previous videos on Rumsien first. I think I have a Rumsien alphabet video, and I also have one about underlying forms. That is really important to watch. I think to understand this video the most, you should go back and watch those first. But anyways, continuing on. So after the first row, we see t and ch. T and ch. Then there's s, sh, sh, and h. Those three S variants might need a little more practice to really distinguish hearing from them, but they are different and they are important to know the difference. So m, n, r, r, y, l, w. So those are the consonants. Now to the right we have the vowels. So from left to right, row down, I, U, E, O, A. So those are the 5 vowels. However, Rumsien also has long vowels. I do not have them in the purple boxes, but basically it's the long versions of each vowel. So A, E, I, O, U. So those are all important to know as well. So just to dive into the phonology, I'm going to talk about general surface form rules. So basically that's just how a word appears in everyday language. So I want to introduce a phonological rule that I made. So it says plus syllabic becomes null in the environment before a non-sonorant or at the end of a word. So just wanted to put out there, plus syllabic in Rumsien means vowels. It just means vowels. I kind of switched the order of my slides before I did this, so I do not have the syllabic chart, unfortunately, but you will see it soon. But if you see plus syllabic, that just means all the vowels. And it becomes null, or that circle with a slash, that just means deleted. You delete the vowel. And there are 2 places when you would delete a vowel. If it's at the end of a word or if it's before a non-sonorant. So a non-sonorant are consonants that are stops, fricatives, or affricates. So I have it listed out. These are all the non-sonorants. P, t, tr, k, t, ch, s, sh, s, sh, sh, h. Those are the non-sonorants. Consonants like m, n, l, w, r, r, those are sonorants. So I will show you in a derivation next what I mean. So this is a surface form derivation. I have 5 words here, and they will all go through this single rule to show you what happens at the end to make a surface form. So let's go through each word. Sea means water. So the first row, I have the underlying form. So the underlying form of sea is sea. It's the same. So if you look at it, it says a word final deletion. That's the name of the rule. But if a vowel is at the end of a word or before a non-sonorant, you delete it. There is no vowel. So it doesn't even apply to this word. So you just don't do anything. That's what the 2 dashes mean. So the surface form, or what the word would appear like in, like, say, a dictionary, would be sea. It's the same. Now let's go on to muk, which means sun. So muk. So in my last video, I talked about underlying forms, but the underlying form of muk is mukka. There's a hidden A. So this hidden A disappears because of this phonological rule. It's at the end of a word, so you delete it. So it just becomes muk. So that's I think word final deletion is pretty straightforward. If we go on to salt, akkas is the underlying form. You will not see this word akkas in the dictionary if you search up salt, because that is the underlying form. It's hidden. You do not see it in the everyday language. So if you see here the vowel is deleted if it is before a non-sonorant. So if I put all the non-sonorants here, and as you can see here, S is one of them. So you do delete this vowel. The last A is deleted. It becomes ox. Very consonant heavy. So for Bob, again, word final deletion. The vowel is deleted because it's at the end of a word. So it just becomes Bob. And last but not least, dream is isut, underlyingly. But because the U comes right before T, and T is a non-sonorant, it is in this chart, it becomes east. East. That means dream. So hopefully that hasn't been too hard. Let's look at some more complicated words. So these are really, really heavy syllables. The word for kiss is mayisps. And there is a hidden I right between the P and the S. Now, because of this rule, because S comes right after it, you delete it. So, mayisps. Now, for wakachim, that means frog. As you can see here, there isn't even a vowel at the end of the word, so you don't have to worry about that. But, as you can see here, there is an I between the ch and the m. However, m is a consonant that comes after the vowel, but is it a non-sonorant? If you look at the chart, it is not there. So you have to keep the E. So, wakachim. Well, obviously, if you delete the vowel, it becomes wakachim, and it's really hard to say. So, naturally, a language usually just doesn't make it harder for people to say. So, that's why you keep the E, wakachim. Now, if we look at mokleliuch, there is a hidden I between the W and the X. So X, the H, is a non-sonorant. It's at the bottom of this chart. So you have to get rid of this vowel. Mokleliuch. The word for woman is lachiank. So the underlying form is lachiamak. If you made it locative, like if you want to say to the woman, it would become lachiamakta. But I explain that later and also in my last video. I won't dwell on that. But as you can see here, k comes after the A, the last A. K is a non-sonorant. It's in this chart. So you delete the last A. It becomes lachiamk. This isn't the surface for necessarily. In places like Henshaw, maybe not Henshaw, Pinart, you will see lachiamk. But Isabel Meadows, John Peabody Harrington's informant, I think her dialect, or at least the way she learned it, she has a separate phonological rule where it becomes lachiank, not lachiamk. I won't dwell on that. That's a completely separate, unrelated phonological instance. But right now, I just want to get into the basics. So last but not least, the word for vomit is ach. There is an I hidden between the ch and the sh, and since sh is a non-sonorant, it's that third S with the little tail at the bottom, you delete the E, so it becomes ach. So this is just basically how to get a word from its underlying form. Let's make it a little bit more complicated. So if you want to make a plural noun, so here I'm introducing a morphological rule. So here the word is X, but it's saying you add the suffix akai if X is a noun and if you want to make it plural. So usually a morphological rule comes first in the derivation, in that table thing I just showed you. So next is a phonological rule I made up. I just named it something random. I named it a deletion. So it says the vowel a is deleted if before it comes a vowel and after it is kai. So remember, plus syllabic means vowel. Here I put the chart. I don't know why I didn't put it before, but here's the chart. It says I, U, E, O, A. Those are, and you can see at the top it says plus syllabic. So that is all the plus syllabic sounds in Rumsien. So again, a is deleted if it is between a vowel and kai. Now let's see this happen. So let's see here the word for person, amma. Amma is one of those really rare instances where you do not delete the last vowel. So you see here, usually in Rumsien, you do not see a vowel at the end of a word, because before we discussed, you would delete it. But there are some really, really rare instances like here where that does not happen. Presumably because like the word person or body is a very common word. It's a very important word, so that's why they keep it. It's quote-unquote special. There are also loan words, like from Spanish. Those vowels at the end, they're kept. So 99% of the time, that last vowel is deleted. So here, if we look at the second column, it says ammakui. That's the word for people. So of course, I start off with the underlying form. That's the hidden form. And I apply the morphology. So I put akai at the end. So now it says ammakui. That is not a word in Rumsien. Also have an extra M. That's a typo. But ammaakay is not a word in Rumsien. So now if we apply the phonology, it says a is deleted if it is between a vowel and kai. Yes, there is a second a. There is an a between another a and kai. So you delete that a. Now this is what we have. Ammakai. This is the word we are looking for. This is the word that appears in the language. So if we see the word for sardine, tupur. So we add the suffix akai, tupurakai. Now, here it says you delete the a if it is between a vowel and kai. The thing is, if we look at this a, it is between an r and kai. R is not a vowel, so this rule does not even apply to this word. That is why at the bottom you see tupurakai. So that is how plurals work in Rumsien. Now, if we want to make it extra complicated, locatives are a very complicated subject in phonology for Rumsien, but I applied it and I tried to think of some rules. So, if we look at first, the morphological rule is you add tak. If X is a noun and you want to make a locative. Locative means like to it, at it, on it, in it, like some kind of position, a location. So we first have this easy peasy rule, morphology for tak. Now, phonology is where it really gets complicated. So the first rule is the a deletion rule. So it says that a is deleted if right before tak is a vowel. So that is the first rule that has to happen. Rule ordering is a thing. The order of the rules you put it in is really important. I won't get into it mainly because I kind of forgot everything. There's a thing called bleeding, counter-bleeding, counterfeiting. If you want to learn more about it, I'm sure you will find some textbook or some article from a linguistics journal about counter-bleeding or feeding, etc. But anyways, this is the first rule that has to happen, a deletion. So the a in tak has to be deleted if there's a vowel before tak. So now the second rule that has to come after that is the k deletion rule. K in tak is deleted if, now this is really complicated, this is probably the most complicated rule in this video, but if tak is at the end of a word, yes, if this k is at the end of a word, and right before tak comes a short vowel that is followed by a consonant. So it's really complicated. You'll see it in action later, but don't dwell too much on it. Next, a third rule that's important is, I just call the short vowel rule, is when a long vowel becomes short. That's what minus long means, just means short. If a long vowel becomes short, if it is followed by a consonant and tak. So you'll see this in this next derivation. Hopefully you'll understand it more. So this is a lot of words. Pick 5. So let's look at wish. Wish means sand. So, as you can see here, the underlying form is first wish. W-I-I retroflex S. Wish. Now, let's add the morphology. Wishtak. Wishtak. This is not a word in Rumsien. You will not see it in the dictionary or ever hear it. Now, next, if we go into A deletion in phonology, it says A is deleted if there is a vowel before tak. Now, the thing is, there is no vowel before tak. You just see sh. It's wish tak. So this rule does not even apply. Now let's look at the K deletion rule. K deletion rule says that K is deleted if there is a short vowel followed by a consonant. Now, as we can see here, wishtak does not have a short vowel. It's a double I. So that's a long vowel. This rule does not apply to it. And last but not least, you see the short vowel rule. It says a long vowel is shortened if it is followed by a consonant in tak. And here it is finally where a rule is applied, because here you see that shtak follows the double I. So now we have to shorten that double I, and it becomes wishtak. That is what we are looking for. Now next, if we look at the word for meat. So the word for meat, regularly I should say, is torch. Torch. T-O-O retroflex T. Torch. So if we want to say in the meat, the word for in the meat in Rumsien is torchet. Torchet. So let's find out how to get that from the beginning. So the underlying word is meat. Torchet doesn't mean in the meat. It just means meat, even though it's not even really a word. It's a word in Mutsun, but it's not a word in Rumsien. So torche, that hidden E, is just lurking underneath. So we want to add tak, so it becomes torche tak, again, not a word. Now, here is where we really get into it. If we look at the phonology, A deletion rule, A is deleted if there is a vowel before tak. Is there a vowel before tak? Yes, there is an E. There's E. Torchet. Now that A is gone. Next, if we look at K deletion, it says K is deleted if there is a short vowel that is followed by a consonant, and then there's ta, and it's at the end of the word. Now, you might be tempted to apply this rule, but the thing is, it says there has to be a ta. There is no ta in torchet because we got rid of that A. So ta doesn't even exist in this word. So this does not apply. Again, the short vowel rule does not apply because the E in torchet is short. It doesn't have to be shortened. It's already short. So that is how you get torchet. Torchet. Next, let's look at ruk. Ruk is the word for house. Underlyingly, it's ruka. There's a hidden A. So again, we add the tak, rukatak. Now next, similar to torchet, ruk has an A in the tak. Now you have to get rid of that A because there is another A before tak. Rukatak. So you get rid of that A in the middle of tak. Rukatak. Rukatak. Again, the K deletion rule does not apply because we do not have a dot in that thing we just made. The A was deleted before. So rukatak. Rukatak. And again, the A is really short in rukatak. We don't have to shorten it. So that's how we get rukatak. Now let's look at flower. Diwishta. That's how you say it in the flower. Diwishta. We're trying to get that. Now the word for flower underlying is diwish. There's a short I that is hidden and lurking in the shadows. So let's add tak. Diwishtak. Diwishtak. Now if we look at the A deletion rule, it says A is deleted if there is a vowel before tak. In this case, there is no vowel. It's a sh. So this rule does not even apply. Let's move on. Now it says K is deleted if there is a short vowel followed by a consonant, then followed by da, and then K is at the end of a word. Very complicated rule. But as you can see here, there is a short vowel, I. There is a consonant that comes after it, sh. There is da, and the K is at the end of the word. So that's how we get diwishta. Short vowel rule does not apply. That second I is short in between W and the S. So diwishta. That's how you get diwishta. And last but not least, canyon. Wakt. That's how you say canyon regularly. If you want to say in the canyon, you say wakochta. So underlyingly, there is a hidden O. Wakoch. Now, if we apply the dak, it becomes wakochtak. Not a word in Rumsien, but we're getting there. So, do we delete the A? We have to look, is there a vowel before dak? There is not. There's the tr. So you skip that. It does not apply. Now, if we look at it, it says K has to be deleted if there is a short vowel followed by a consonant, then da. And yes, there is. O is the short vowel, tr is the consonant, da is what comes after it, and the K is at the end of a word. So you get rid of the K. Wakochta. And again, the short vowel rule does not apply because the O is already short. So this is a lot of work. I kind of sat down and really looked into it, really thought of the rules. But hopefully next time I could talk about verbs. Verb phonology is a lot more complicated, but it is also a lot funner to learn about. So I really hope I piqued your interest in phonology with Rumsien. I mentioned in my last video, it is very phonologically interesting. So I really hope you get to start studying it a lot more. It's a beautiful language. It's wonderful. The phonology is really interesting. So hopefully I'll come up with the verb phonology video next. Ciao,